Welcome to Facts TV News, where everything is true.
Your sentence starts already. A man who is to be sentenced for stealing almost $800,000 in goods from a wholesale in downtown Kingston told a senior parish judge that after his mother learned of his arrest, she was overcome with stress and died. The accused 23-year-old Ron Hibbert appeared before senior parish court judge Lori Ann Cole Montague at the Kingston and St. Andrew Parish Court last Tuesday to answer to the charge of shoplifting and larceny. He pleaded guilty and is to be sentenced on January 31, 2023. The court was told that about 10 a.m. on November 7, a police team was on patrol in downtown Kingston when they received information of a break-in in progress. According to the report, when the police went to the location, Hibbert was seen leaving the wholesale with 2 large bags and a bucket filled with bottle of water. After being arrested and cautioned by the police, Hibbert is reported to have said, "Officer, a regular looting go on a town, and me just say, me I go take some things, fi go sell." The court was also told that the complainant, whose identity is being withheld, securely locked her wholesale, and she later received a call regarding the break-in. When she visited her business, she determined that several products valued at $796,000 were missing. Explaining his version of events, Hibbert told the judge that, "Your Honor, I just came out of my house with a female to put her in a taxi. Me saw the shop open up, Your Honor, so I went inside and packed up some things and I got caught." Continuing, he told Cole Montague about his mother, who was a district constable. "She all fret over me and dead. At the first me I go get and caught up in something like this," he said, adding that his mother died the day after he was arrested. In responding, Cole Montague said, "So, you'll have to walk with that guilt for the rest of your life, so your sentence started already." In the meantime, the investigating officer told the court that the police in downtown Kingston now have initiative to patrol the early morning hours due to the high break-ins recorded. "The police them all of here work double time now, and at Christmas," Cole Montague said. Turning back to Hibbert, the judge inquired about his age, and after he answered, she said, "Why, you young people throwing away your life so? Youth is really wasted on the young." Before Hibbert was ordered to return to court for sentencing, a fingerprint order was made for him. Solar energy pilot program to be used in schools, says Williams. The Ministry of Education and Youth says it will be undertaking a pilot project for the use of solar energy in schools. Portfolio Minister Favour Williams said that the trial will take place in 30 institutions in the first quarter of 2023, and then, depending on the results, that will be something we will look at to scale across our schools. Williams noted that the solar systems will reduce the costs associated with cooling classrooms. To the extent that we use more solar energy at our schools, you can see our children will be in a more comfortable environment, which will enhance their teaching and learning, she said. Williams was speaking during a press conference of the Education Transformation and Oversight Committee at Jamaica House in Kingston on Thursday. Giving an update on the project to equip schools with broadband internet, Williams indicated that 554 institutions have been contracted for service, of which 377 already have access to adequate broadband connectivity. When we talk about adequate broadband connectivity, we really mean that. There was an assessment done of all the schools, and a decision was made on how much broadband connectivity we should allocate to these schools, she pointed out. She said the ministry will continue to procure connectivity for other institutions. Thursday's press conference provided an update on the progress of the implementation of the recommendations from the 2021 Reform of Education in Jamaica report, which was developed by the Professor Orlando Patterson, Chair Jamaica Education Transformation Commission. The E-Talk, chaired by Dr. Adrian Stoke, was appointed to monitor the implementation. A number of prioritized areas were identified in the report, which government governance and accountability, early childhood education, the teaching curriculum and teacher training, tertiary education, technical and vocational education and training, infrastructure technology, finance, among other areas. Samuda slams critics on SOEs. Government Senator Matty Samuda has come out in strong support of the proposal by Prime Minister Andrew Holness to introduce legislation for a mandatory minimum prison sentence of 30 years for people convicted of murder. Making his presentation to the State of the National Debate in the Senate last Friday, Samuda slammed critics of the proposal as he argued that this was a necessary step to send a strong signal to criminals. "Mr. President, not surprisingly, there has been the usual pushback from some stakeholders to the potential solution to the problem of violent crime. Indeed, Jamaica's for Justice has accused the administration of running the risk of causing the legislature to impose itself upon judicial function. I strongly disagree with that narrative, said Samoda. In the context of our high murder rate over many years, it is full time that Jamaican state, via the executive and legislative branches, send a strong message regarding its unwillingness to tolerate stamps on the risk for people found guilty of perpetrating heinous crimes. It is good that this administration has sent a message to those who bring long-lasting pain to law-abiding members of the society by imposing a mandatory minimum penalty of 15 years for those found in possession of illegal gun. Unequivocally support the mandatory minimum penalty imposed for gun offences, and indeed declare today that the mandatory sentence penalty of 30 years behind bars for murders cannot happen soon enough, added Samoda, as he called on his colleagues to continue taking a stand in the interest of the law-abiding citizens of Jamaica. We have chosen this side, and it is a matter of public record that societies which, among other measures, are prepared to send strong messages in terms of its law to deal with violent crime generally are successful in the taming of the crime monster. Samoda pointed to the case of correctional officer Jamie Wesley, who was fatally stabbed inside the St. Catherine Adult Correctional Center on November 13, 2020. According to Samoda, he was recently advised that the man who killed Wesley pleaded guilty to manslaughter and was sentenced to 10 years in prison. He noted that at the time of Wesley's murder, he had oversight for the correctional service and reason to receive a message from the slain warder's mother. She reflected on how his life was brutally taken by an inmate. She felt it unjust that the man who took her son's life was sentenced to only 10 years behind bars. She is in deep pain and feels wronged by the justice system, Samoda stated. I understand that sometimes plea deeds are at arrival, and at times sentences are influenced by mitigating circumstances, but I must confess I feel the pain of Jimmy's mother and understand why in this instance she feels wronged by the system, and she is not alone, declared Samoda. Generally speaking, it is true that many times the court hand down sentences which appear just as I commend our judiciary for their commitment to putting in the hard work under sometimes challenging circumstances. Indeed, many of our judges are among the best in the world. However, it is also true that there are instances where it appears to me that sentences handed down to the brutal killers support the case of the executive branch and the legislature as a matter of policy to contemplate the brutality of some who exist among us and draw a line in the sand, he said. Regardless of what groups such as Jamaicans for Justice may say, let me reiterate, I support the call for a 30-year mandatory minimum penalty for murderers in Jamaica. A mandatory minimum penalty for violent crimes is a useful tool for social engineering, he argued. Samoda also used his presentation to bash the opposition People's National Party for its stance on the state of emergencies introduced by the Holness administration and the advice of the leadership of the security forces. Pointing to the state of emergency imposed by Michael Mann administration in 1976, Samoda charged that was a vicious and corrupt abuse of power against political opponents and the Jamaican citizenry. He argued that the picture painted by opposition senators of the 1976 SOE as one that was necessary and properly enforced was far from the truth. It is important that the record be set straight. There was nothing just or appropriate about the declaration and reformation of the 1976 state of emergency, stated Samoda, who was obviously still peeved over the decision by opposition senators not to support a resolution to extend the state of emergency, which was imposed on November 15. Samoda also dismissed suggestions by the opposition that the ongoing FIFA World Cup is responsible for a decline in murders during the period of the SOEs. In the context of major and consistent decline in murders in public divisions over the past few years, where the administration has declared states of public emergency, for the opposition to now claim that the most recent decline was due to a sporting event which is not held at the same time as the greatest number of murders in this country is felt disingenuous and ridiculous, he argued.
Please remember to subscribe, like, share, and click the notification